Alright guys, fuel gauge isn't working. I'm suspecting the fuel sending unit, but do a little bit of testing here just to show you. You can see how the fuel is on empty. Hopefully the glare is not too much. I turn the key on, every other gauge moves. This is a Chaparral Sunesta 233 2001 model. So it's not moving at all there. So what we need to do is check the sender. And by doing that, here's the fuel sending unit, which is under the inspection plate in the floor. You can see it looks like a nightmare in there with rust, corrosion all over it. I'm kind of curious why it got corroded so quickly. Not really quickly, but I suspect that this inspection plate here is leaking water inside there when you wash the boat or what have you, leaving water on the top there. You can see it looks like a potato chip with little pieces of rust coming off. So what I'm going to do, I mean obviously I got to replace this no matter what, but I just want to make sure I don't have a gauge problem as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to jump the center pin, which is your fuel sending rheostat, to the green wire, which is your ground. The gauge works off of a ground system, so I'll jump those two wires and then look at the gauge. The gauge should go up with the key on. So let me get started and we'll try it. Alright guys, I need like 4 hands to do this, so I'm just jumping the wire at the fuel sending unit. I can't film it all at the same time, but you'll see when I'm jumping these 2 wires, that gauge will start moving hopefully. That'll confirm. Okay, yep. So I just went to ground, and you can see how it's going right back up there. So, yep, just jumping those 2 wires over. Okay, you can see this nightmare lining up here. So, alright, step by step. I think I'm going to pull the whole inspection cover off. I mean, there's barely enough room to get in here on an offset. I think I'd like to seal this anyways with some 4200. So I'm going to start by popping that off. Alright, not a lick of silicone in there, so obviously that's where my water got in there, probably to corrode it in the first place. Gives me a little bit more room, nothing great. I'm going to try to vacuum out before I take anything loose, because obviously I don't want anything falling down. Oh, look at that chunk there. Just a bunch of chunks of metal. Yeah, I'm going to vacuum that up, try to clean it up a little bit, and then I'll start trying to pull it out. I don't have the new gas gauge or sending unit yet, because I don't know what this one is. I do see a inspection cover in here, not in cover, I'm sorry, a tag, probably giving me a little bit more details on the tank. Maybe I can find the manufacturer and get an exact match. Alright, let me get this vacuum turned on. Alright, I'm just spraying a little bit of Simple Green in here. Clean it up. I did a little more cleaning inside here, and more chunks of this fuel sender just falling apart. I can almost see, I don't know if the light is too much glare, but right here on the front side, it almost looks like you can see in the tank. And I hope that's not the case. Alright. Well, yep, this is turning into a nightmare. I just tried to get one of the screws off and it really wouldn't turn. So, look at that. The whole thing is crumbling. This is going to turn into a nightmare. Alright, I got one out. One's coming now, but I am not going to be liking this. Okay, I sped this part of the movie up just because it's me frustrated trying to get this broken fuel sender out. In hindsight, should have cut the wires that go to the fuel sender. They're corroded anyway, so I needed to clean up the connection. It would have made it easier to pull out of here. You can see that I'm struggling with the wire and getting it out just right. But just a little bit of patience and finesse, and you'll get it. And if you got the screws out, that hard part's over. On hindsight, don't use the same connections. Alright, look at this nightmare. The whole thing just fell apart from the only thing that's holding it here is this, basically that. Everything else just crumbled in pieces. Unbelievable. Wow. I'm shocked I haven't had a fuel leak. But, alright, let's see how the rest of this project goes. I'm nervous about it. Yeah, it's normal. I get nervous about everything with this fuel on a boat. Alright guys, I just bought this from West Marine. This is a universal molar fuel sending unit, 12 inches to 24 tank depth. So anyways, it's actually not a close match. The other unit was a complete float assembly on an arm. This actually will ride on that metal shank that goes down to the bottom of the tank. I'll have to cut that. So I got to measure the depth of the tank and go from there. Alright guys, the instruction says to measure the depth of the tank. I'm just using a yardstick, wooden, for two reasons. I want to see how deep the tank is, and I also want to see how much gas I have in there, so I get an idea when I come together and I put it all in, how accurate is it to what I have on the gauge. So that's what I'm doing. It looks like it's a little over 16.5. It's hard to tell down in this hole, so I'm just going to take a marker and mark it. I feel like I'm balancing. Okay. Looks like I got 10.25 inches of fuel, according to the wet mark on the on here, 10.25, and we're about 16.75 on the depth of the tank. Okay, what I'm doing now is I'm just lining the bolts up. They say it's an eccentric hole, so you want to make sure that these fit just so. Of course, this rheostat wire hanging out is not going to help anything. The wire eventually goes in the tank, but I'm not sure if you can see that. I think I got everything lined up here. This molar sign is facing right over this side of the tank. It seems like all the holes are lining up there. Just trying to get it lined up, not drop stuff in the tank. Looks good. Alright guys, not sure if you can see this, or I had to cut the arm length. Molar's got some real difficult instructions on how to do it. It's just not clear, you know. It's written by an engineer, not a guy that does this kind of stuff. Anyways, the first step was finding the depth of the tank, and then you cut it in half and add a ½ inch. So that's what I had to cut this bracket. Then the float arm length, they have a grid that tells you what length it should be, and you can push on these connectors. So I'm trying to get it to fit in there right now. Just don't want to drop anything in the tank. Let's see if this works. And we're getting stuck. Perfect. And it doesn't look like I'll be able to get it. Isn't that nice? Well, I just manipulated it and was able to get it down in there, shockingly. You see I marked it, I prefabbed, I marked the red line next to the gasket and on the tank, so hopefully this will line up here in a second if I can wipe the mark off, which I feel like I may have. There's the mark for that one. And what I'm going to do is I am going to Loctite these screws, but I initially just want to make sure they line up. Okay guys, the holes are lined up. Be very careful. The new screws that come with this, they're not the same thread pitch as the ones I've taken out, so just assure you got the right thread pitch, because if not, you could have some issues. One thing I do like about the new screws, I don't know if you can see it, there's a little gasket at the back of it. I'm still going to put Loctite on it. I didn't add any Permatex to the seal because everything I read says not to. So anyways, those little rubber seals, the washers, I'm going to take them off and put it on the other one. Alright, you can see, I don't know why, but they came with two different washers. And I took the black, those are gaskets, they're little rubber. I took them off of the ones that came with the sending unit and put them on the old screws. And I cleaned the old screws up on a bench grinder on a wire wheel. And I'm just going to use blue Loctite. That's everything I read says use blue Loctite. So everything's lined up good, so let's give it a shot here. Alright, I put Loctite on all the screws. Now I'm just going to cross tighten them. I feel pretty comfortable with what I did by some dielectric grease inside both sides of the connector and on the wire itself. And the reason I'm doing that now, just an added bit of protection. You know, you can guarantee they would never do this at a boat repair facility. Guaranteed. Alright, I'm just double checking my connectors. I just put them on. They're tight. I got grease shoved in the back side of these things. I'll shove a little bit more. You could heat shrink them if you wanted to, but it's just a ground wire, so I don't think it's really necessary. Alright, we're all buttoned up. We got the screws on there. I am going to spray some Corrosion X on there after I'm sure I have no leak at all, which I think it's going to be pretty good. Took me a lot longer than I expected. Let's do the moment of truth and see if it actually fixes it. Alright, let's see. If you remember earlier, we measured the tank and it was just a hair more than a half a tank. Yeah, and it's literally showing a hair more than a half a tank, so pretty happy with that. Yeah, kind of gives you somewhat of an idea. Okay guys, well good luck. I hope this helps you. Give me a thumbs up if this worked for you or helped you at all. Take care.